It's fall 2004 in Newport Beach, California, and Tom and Jackie Hawks are living their best life aboard their 55-foot yacht called the Well Deserved. Now, Jackie was Tom's second wife, but they had been married for years. Tom had children with his first wife, and they were all very close. Jackie considered his kids like her own. So you can imagine how excited they were when they became grandparents. So excited, in fact, that they decided to pack up the Well Deserved, sell it, and move inland to be closer to family. The family started to get worried, though, when a week had passed by and they hadn't heard from Tom and Jackie. So Tom's brother drove down to the harbor where they kept the Well Deserved. He thought maybe they were stranded at sea, so he wanted to go check it out and see what he could find out. So he arrives, and sure enough, there sits the Well Deserved. So he decides to jump on board and see if he can find any clues or any indication to where they were. Immediately, Tom's brother knew something was off. They were meticulous about keeping that boat spotless, and he noticed things that just didn't seem right. Like the navigation cover was halfway on, halfway off. There were smudge marks on the glass, like the soap dispenser was knocked over, things that weren't a big deal to most, but he knew was not right for them. So despite feeling uneasy about the whole thing, he didn't really have any proof that anything had happened. So he left a note for the next person that got on the boat saying, "Hey, here's my name, number. I'm looking for my brother and sister-in-law. Please give me a call, when you get this." So the next stop for Tom's brother is the police department. He wants to fill out a missing persons report for Tom and Jackie. So while he's filling out the paperwork, his cell phone rings, and it's this woman, Jennifer DeLeon. And she says, "I got your note. I am so sorry to hear about your brother and sister-in-law, but they sold my husband Skylar and I the boat a couple days ago. So I'm so sorry to hear that you can't find them, but, we don't know what to say, more or less." His brother is shocked, but not knowing what else to do or say, he hangs up with Jennifer. So police decide to bring Jennifer and Skylar DeLeon in for an interview. Honestly, their story was pretty solid. They had a notary there, a witness, and it was a cash deal they did right there in the parking lot. They didn't even take the boat out of the harbor. They took an onboard tour, and that was it. Just as they were getting ready to let the couple go, they decided to look through the paperwork, and that's where they spotted the two red flags. The first is that Tom and Jackie had given Skylar and Jennifer power of attorney. The second was that Jackie had signed her last name Hawk, not Hawks, on all the paperwork. So police start pushing the DeLeon, saying, why would they sign over power of attorney when you just bought a boat? Makes no sense. So Skylar comes up with some bullshit excuse about how him and Tom were talking, and Tom wanted to buy a piece of property down in Mexico, and Skylar would be able to help him, but he would have to sign over power of attorney. Okay. So police decided to bring in the signature witness and the notary. I could not find a picture of the notary, but this is Alonzo, who witnessed the signature. Sometime throughout all these interviews, police had run a GPS coordinate search to see where the boat had been. And they learned that Jennifer and Skylar had lied about not taking the boat out that day. And in fact, the boat had gone out some 15 miles the day that the boat was sold to them. I don't know if it was the pressure building or if their conscience finally kicked in, but Kathleen, the notary, and Alonzo here, the signature witness, finally caved. The notary admits that she was not there for the actual signature. She had done it a week later. And Alonzo starts singing like a canary, explaining to police what really happened that day. So Skylar and Jennifer had set this whole thing up. Alonzo, as you know, was supposed to be the witness to signature. John, who's a well-known gang member in the area, was to act as Skylar's accountant. The four of them, including Skylar and Jennifer's baby, and not to mention that Jennifer was pregnant, so 2 children and these 4 monsters got on the boat that day. Initially, the plan was for Skylar and Alonzo only to go on the boat and do what I'm about to tell you. But when they got on, Tom could tell something wasn't right. So Skylar got off the boat, called Jennifer, and said, "Hey, Jennifer, bring the kid, bring our baby, so that will, ease Jackie and Tom, because who could, be mad at a baby and a pregnant lady?" And unfortunately, their plan worked because these 2 loving, caring people loved babies. So the tension was lifted and off to sea they went. When they were about 15 miles out, they tasered both these kind people and tied them up. But Skylar promised, as long as you sign all the paperwork that we want you to, we'll let you live. We won't hurt you. We just want your boat and all your assets. They agreed. They didn't want it either. They just wanted to live. But being the total douche that he was, he couldn't just steal their money. Instead, he blindfolded them and duct taped their mouths. He then went to the front of the boat, got an anchor, tied it to them, and threw it overboard. I will never know the feeling they felt listening to that rope getting pulled into the ocean, knowing they were moments behind it. I'm running out of time, but their bodies have never been found. Skylar and the accountant, John, were both sentenced to death. Jennifer got life in prison, and Alonzo got 20 years.